Same people have the audacity to come to Africa and talk to us about human rights. Because that which they set out to do 123, 24 years ago, it's still in place. Nothing has changed. So how can they say Berlin Conference is a thing of history, don't talk about it? No, what's really sad and what should disgust the world is to say this policy was put in place 123 years ago and it is still in place and nothing has changed. But what's really worse is when you look at what France did to the Francophone countries in 1958, when they were living, quote unquote, leaving the continent. They gave the Francophone countries two choices. You can be independent with some affiliations to France, or you can be independent with no affiliations to France. Well, Guinea and Mali said, we're done with you, France, goodbye, leave us alone. That's how we had the first ever known union of any African states. They went into those two countries, took everything that they thought they had brought to them. History tells us they even took the last cup, teaspoon, chair, and proceeded to pour concrete into the sewage pipes, completely devastating the two economies, simply because they refused to be affiliated to France. But what they, and also the Sékou Touré, then president of Guinea at that time, he looked at the pact that France was making the Francophone countries sign. It was called the Pact for the Continuation of Colonization. He refused to sign it.
How many countries in Africa?
Now we are sitting at 14 Francophone countries that are still held on to.
Now, defence officials in Ukraine have described claims of corruption within its army recruitment as shameful and unacceptable. It comes after President Zelensky recently sacked every regional recruitment head after officials were accused of taking bribes and intimidation. Our Ukraine correspondent James Waterhouse reports.
It's okay to be scared. This is the latest messaging campaign from Ukraine's military. It wants people to give their details so they can be called on if needed. But what if they don't want to?
The system is very outdated.
Yehor, not his real name, is one of them. He's not happy with how the army finds its soldiers.
It's like Soviet times. Recruiters using these methods now is unacceptable.
Mobilisation is why most men under 60 can't leave Ukraine. Here, drafting officers raid an arcade in the Kyiv region. They hand out notices, ordering them to sign up. Russia's invasion means Ukraine is constantly trying to replace soldiers. But with tens of thousands killed and even more injured or exhausted, the demand is not being met with just volunteers. But there are big questions over how it calls men up, with officials being accused of intimidation and helping some escape the country for cash. There are exemptions, including poor health, but not for just not wanting to fight. Yehor watched his father suffer with mental health issues after serving in Afghanistan with the Soviet army.
Pata.